Hey guys! Welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new here, I'm a chemistry student studying at Imperial College London. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I organized my life in 2021 using three things: a bullet journal, Notion, and PomodoroTracker.com. I'm using a hybrid of these three tools this academic year, mainly because of the need to be more organized than usual due to online university. So this video is going to be split into three main sections. I'll first give you a quick tour of my Notion page, where I schedule each term at university, plan for part-time jobs and YouTube, as well as make notes for career progression stuff. I'll then move on to my bullet journal, where I make daily to-do lists, keep track of my 2021 goals and habits, as well as make podcast and book notes. Lastly, I'll mention one of my most visited websites of all time, PomodoroTracker.com, which I've used since my A-levels to plan my day by the hour. So let's start off with my Notion workspace. I created my account over the summer of 2020, then started actually using Notion at the beginning of this academic year, in October of 2020. Therefore, this isn't a guide on how to use Notion, as I'm not in any ways a Notion expert. And so my pages are more of the functional, minimalistic type. So here comes a very basic Notion tool. On my sidebar, there are three main areas. Let's start at the top of my list. This one is quite self-explanatory. Generally, if I ever find myself being distracted during study sessions with an idea of what would be more interesting than work, such as washing dishes or throwing out the trash, I immediately open up my Notion and type that distracting task in this page. After doing this, I usually find it much easier to concentrate, as it's as if I've externalized my thoughts, so I'm no longer worried of forgetting about it. And then, when the time to take a break comes, I can cross it off. Next, let's go to my personal hub. I don't really use this at all during term time. I got this template from Untitled Chapter on YouTube and just kept the bits which I thought would be useful for myself. So in the first block, I have my period tracker, skincare recs, and then in the next block, I have book notes. So when I first made my book notes in 2020, they all went in Notion. And then when I started my bullet journal in 2021, the book notes went there instead. I decided to move all my book notes into my bullet journal in 2021 because I found that even though making book notes in Notion helped me to retain information that I read right after finishing the book, I never really remembered to go back to them after a while, because it's all in the personal hub area of my Notion, where I would never stumble upon it during term time, unless I specifically went into that Notion page. On the other hand, in my bullet journal, it's dispersed within my daily logs. So if I say was to flip through my bullet journal, I would be able to see that, oh, I read this book in January. Totally forgot about that. Also, another reason why I started making book notes in Notion was because I made some in my old bullet journals for my first year of university, and I wanted to keep them all together in one area. Then I just gave up because my typing speed is like super slow. If you wanted a book recommendation, which I know none of you asked for, I would highly recommend The Organized Mind by Daniel Levitin. It's not the most interesting book, but I found it very insightful for helping me structure my time and thoughts better, and therefore improve my productivity as a student. So the quotes from podcast page. It's self-explanatory. It contains quotes which I have taken from Ali Abdaal's past YouTube live stream deep dives. Again, the same thing with making book notes on Notion. I found that making podcast notes on Notion meant that I never looked at them again. And lastly, this page in my personal hub was just something I created after watching Lana Blakely's YouTube video on why she journals. I also have a reading list on the bottom of my personal hub. Often, I get my book recommendations from book or study tubers, And so this table here is where I first plop them all in. Then I usually shortlist them in my bullet journal. Next, let's move on to my most used Notion page, my Uni and Work Hub. Here I have two main databases, the current classes database and the course calendar spreadsheet. So here is the classes database. Here I have all my lecture classes for this term because I have set a filter to spring 2021. But if I delete the filter, I can see all the modules that I have taken this year. So let's go into, for example, Japanese Level 1. And you can open these modules as pages. Within this all classes database, I have the course type, terms which courses have been taken in, and course information with the final grades. This one is IP, which means in progress. As you can see, another part of this page is a course calendar, which you can also find in the homepage of the Uni and Work Hub. The course calendar database contains every single course assignment I have to do, such as an exam, lecture, or coursework for labs. So this is in calendar view, but I can also change it to a weekly view or a list view. This whole entire University and Work Hub template was taken from Mayor Adelberg on YouTube. I might be butchering his name, sorry if that's the case. And yeah, so I got his template and changed it to fit my own needs. This course calendar database is probably one of my favorite parts of my Notion workspace, because of the fact that my course calendar can also double as my long-term to-do list. So yeah, that's my Notion tour done. Now let's move on to my bullet journal. This is my journal. It's a Leuchtturm 1917 grid notebook in A5. This year, I decided to get back into minimalistic bullet journaling for 2021 after reading The Bullet Journal Method by Ryder Carroll. Last year, I didn't do bullet journaling because when university was in person, I just didn't need to be that organized in general. I could just follow my termly and weekly schedule, which I could check using the My Imperial app, and create a daily schedule, either using one of those circular hourly notepads, which I got when I visited Korea pre-pandemic, or just used pomodorotracker.com, which I'll talk about later. On the first page, when you open it up, there's my personal details, which I'll just skip over. And then after that, there's a table of contents page. I've only just started this bujo this year, so there's not much here yet. So the first things that I have after the front cover spread is my books to read and 2021 goals spread. There are 52 books on the bookshelves in my to read spread. Moving on from the spread, next is my future log, but specifically for YouTube videos. In my first year of university, I started bullet journaling for the first time. And from that experience, I've learned that the typical types of future logs are useless for me. Just because as a student at Imperial, I would only be informed of future events 1 to 2 weeks before term started, and that would be in the form of events scheduled into my Microsoft Outlook calendar. So why transfer the events from one calendar to another? However, now that I do YouTube on the side and have a goal of uploading at least 52 videos in 2021, I thought it would be important to schedule as well as track my YouTube uploads. This Dutch door style spread was inspired by Mana Rach Lee's 2021 bullet journal setup. For my January spread, I just listed out the days in January with the corresponding first letter of the day next to it in caps. For every day, I write a one-line summary of what I got up to. Then, on the right-hand side, I have a list of tasks which I want to do someday in the month. I have no clue when. It's basically my ongoing mental inventory. Following on from my monthly log, I have my daily logs for the month. Every night I write down tomorrow's day of the week, and then rapid log. Under each day, I plan my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as my daily to-do. I also cross off everything I completed on the day, transfer everything that wasn't completed to the next day, and then cross off any tasks which I no longer think is necessary to complete. If a random idea pops up in the middle of the day, which I don't want to forget about, I usually write it down in my daily log too, and then transfer it to a new collection when I realize that I have jotted a lot of notes down which cover the same topic. Interspersed between my January daily logs are my content ideas for YouTube and Instagram page, an empty goals spread, a brain dump which I used when I was stressing over what modules to choose this term, book notes on Grit by Angela Duckworth, as well as some podcast notes. One new thing that I've started incorporating in my Bujo, which I think is super useful, is this thing called threading. I read about it in Ryder Carroll's book, and it's been really useful so far when I run out of pages when making book notes, then have to continue the notes a few pages later, because it connects those two chunks of the book notes together. So, for example, let's look at my notes for the book Grit. I started writing the notes on page 28 to 29, then ran out of pages and continued making the notes on page 40 to 43. Obviously, I could just reference this in my table of contents in the beginning. However, that would involve a lot of flipping about to just read the notes from start to finish. Therefore, instead, I have threaded these two chunks together, writing 40 next to the page number 29, as this means that page 40 is the start of my next instance of my notes on Grit. And I've also written 29 next to the page number 40, because that is the end of the previous instance of my notes. Now, you can quickly flip between the instances without having to flip to my table of contents spread. When February came, I created a new monthly log again and transferred all the required tasks which weren't yet done from January to February, and added some new tasks too. Again, same thing as the previous month, I have my daily logs and notes from books and YouTube videos. That's it for my bullet journal spreads. Let's now move on to how I plan my hours in a day, which is by using this website called pomodorotracker.com. This website is very user-friendly and extremely simple to use if you just keep to the default Pomodoro method of 25 minutes of work broken up by 5 minutes worth of breaks, 4 times in a row, followed by a 15-minute break. All you have to do is add the tasks you want to work on a day. So task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. Then you estimate how many Pomodoros need to be set for each task. So for example, I'll set 2 Pomodoros for task 3 and 3 for task 1. Then you can order them in the schedule you would like to do them in. For example, I'll do task 2 first, and then you can just start the timer, and you're all set. However, I've actually been trying out this other method called animedoro these days, which is a study method created by this YouTuber called Josh Chen. In general, the default Pomodoro technique is an excellent way to boost productivity, but in general, I have found it hard to do anything in a 5-minute break other than going to the toilet and making myself a drink. On the other hand, animedoro consists of 40 to 60 minutes of work, followed by a 20-minute break, with the 20-minute break perfect for watching YouTube videos or exactly 1 episode of anime, if you skip the OP and the EP. hence the name animedoro. The work time is variable between 40 to 60 minutes because some tasks are just quicker to finish than others. So the rule is, if you finish something, say 30 minutes in, you should start the next task until you're finished with that too, or 60 minutes have elapsed. On the other hand, if you finish your task in under 60 minutes, but more than 40 minutes have elapsed, you can take your break earlier. Although less hours may be clocked per day compared to if you followed the Pomodoro method strictly, I have found that using the animedoro method has helped me to feel less burnt out, as well as less likely to end up ignoring the timers and taking a 1 hour break because I can't be asked to continue working. So what I do is I change the settings on this website. So on the top left-hand corner, there's a preferences. And so to use animedoro, I just add scheme, name animedoro, Pomodoro duration 60 minutes, and keep both the short break duration and a long break duration to 20 minutes. I like to also turn both auto start breaks and auto start Pomodoros on because that doesn't give me the option to ditch the schedule by just not pressing start for the next work session. Instead, the website just starts it for you. Another thing I like about this website is that if you register and then log into the service, you can track your progress. It's just nice to see how much work you've done, and it's interesting to look back on, in my opinion. Also, I find the website useful for planning my day because if you look on the right-hand side of each task, there's an estimated end time. This helps me to be more realistic with the number of tasks I assign myself each day. If the end time ends up being, say, 1 a.m., then I know I should probably schedule some tasks to a later date.
So overall, this is how I organize my life, at least while I have online university. In general, my way of organizing my life has been changing over the years. But while university has been online, this is what I've been sticking to. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and maybe got something out of it. I hope you're all having a great day so far. And just as a heads up, I'll be having a Study With Me premiere every Friday at 4 p.m. UK time from now on, until further notice. So if you'd like a study buddy if you're working alone at home, do come join.